Welcome to Humble Ground, a podcast where the heart of agriculture meets the stories that feed the world. Behind every meal is a farmer, a rancher, and a legacy of hard work. Here, we shine a light on their journeys, their challenges, and their triumphs, because every meal has a story, and it's time we heard it.
Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of Humble Ground. Pretty excited. I've known these guys for a long time. I do a terrible job of introducing people, so I'm going to try to do a better job. But I've got Ron, Brock, and Brent from Alverson Cattle Co. And we're just going to talk about cattle today. And you grew up in the 80s, and I started your operation really in the 80s, and so I kind of want to hit on that. But for everybody watching, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, share it. We've got a lot of really cool stuff. But Ron, talk about the earliest memory you have that's farm related.
Oh, when I was young, growing up with my grandpa, him and my uncles all farmed around here, and it just gets in your blood. And like I said earlier, you can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy. And then after I graduated from high school, I decided to go on my own, I guess you might say. I got into milking with my cousin John, and did that for a couple years, and then we ended up buying the old DeBoard place up there, which was a dairy, and we moved our cows there. And we did that for 19 years, basically, till basically we was 40, and then we got out of that. And a few years before I got out, I started crossbreeding some of the Holsteins and started buying some stock cows, and got into stock cows. And like I said earlier, we got about 800 acres of ground, and most of it's hay and pasture. We don't farm much. Most of it all goes to the cattle industry. And just did that. Started driving the bus in 1998 when I got out of milking. Did that. My Becky and Brent was both in school, and so I got to drive them, go to their activities. Becky played volleyball in Tennell's 8-year run of championships in volleyball. And did that and worked off the farm after that a lot. Did help doing construction work and odds and ends jobs. Built our house in 96.
You just a busy guy. What about you two? What's the earliest memory you got? You would have been at least in the dairy operation, I would assume, when both of you boys were around.
Brent would have been.
Yeah.
Remember that at all?
Yeah, I mean, the earliest memory, I guess, for me would be feeding the baby calves. You grab your little red wagon and put a couple buckets in there. You get 4 bottles in each bucket, and you go down and feed the baby calves. But we usually only had 5 or 6, 7 at a time, But yeah, scooping pins, throwing the straw out the window of the old shed down there and feeding them. That's mainly hauling a lot of alfalfa square bales. Your dad used to get the high school boys, and we'd haul a lot of square bales. And I drove the tractor. I was pretty young then yet, so I was born in 86, and we were doing a lot of that in early 90s, so I just drove the tractor. But
Yeah. Talk about if you started in 80 with John and then 82 kind of on your own. Pretty tough time to be starting a business and really going out on your own. Do you remember back then? I mean, that would have had to have been a pretty big gamble, I would think.
Oh, the middle 80s, when the farm crisis hit, it got tough through there. But, Sherry went to town, got a job. I was milking. So we kind of had a steady income, I guess you might say. And that probably helped us a lot to get through it, because it was tough. It's hard seeing your neighbors get sold out and stuff, We lost a lot of neighbors through that time, but we hung in there, hard-headed and full of energy, I guess. We made it through, and things got better then.
Yeah,
it's been a good path.
It's interesting you mentioned that the wife had a job. So everybody I've talked to that knew things in the 80s, or dad or grandpa was in the 80s, the first thing it comes to was the spouse normally had a job in town that at least you had a paycheck.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people make the comment that, had a really good spouse that supported, because the dairy industry, especially if you're by yourself, you are married to that industry. Is that the best way to put it?
Yeah. It's 7 days a week, twice a day. Sick or whatever. Blizzard.
Injured.
Yeah.
Injured. Yeah. Tell me the story. What happened, and when was that? I remember you.
The day after Father's Day in 93. Of course, 93 was the year of the floods. Had a lot of rain. We'd had the tractor pull that weekend. I was president of the Ball Association at the time, and we was in town. Did the books. I come home that night. Brent was getting ready to mow, and we had a German Shepherd. Duke was his name, and he was pretty, I don't know what it was. When Brent would start the lawnmower, he'd bite the tires all the time. So I told Brent, chain him up. He was going to mow, and I headed out to get the cows. And I was just coming in. I never even heard the bull. And I knew when he flipped me in the air what was going on. And I remember wrestling with him for a little bit, and then I guess he knocked me out or something. I don't know. Brent said he heard me screaming, turned the dog loose. The dog come down and got the bull off me, I guess. Next thing I knew, the ambulance was there, and off to the hospital we was going.
What ended up happening?
Oh, I broke some ribs, tore tendons in my ankles. I had a big lump on my jaw there. I suppose I remember the bull, they kind of just take their head and just beat you, and I told him down there, I told Dr. Tom and stuff, I said, I got to go home because I got to milk, because I was the only one, I didn't really have anybody to milk. The kids were young yet then at that time. Brent was 7, weren't you?
Yeah, that'd have been 7.
Yeah. So that dog was always my hero.
Yeah,
He's buried right next to the milk barn.
That'd be a perfect spot.
I still remember that day we were, like I said, just getting ready to mow, and I remember Dad yelling. When I looked down there, I actually seen him fly through the air, and I just ran down and unhooked the dog and ran to the house and told Mom to call 911. And yeah, it's something you don't ever want to have to see. But I remember him walking back into the milk barn that night at the end of the night. With, pretty sure it was a walker that night to milk.
That's just crazy, though. And you, realistically, how many years ago did it happen to you? And the dog, if I recall, saved the day as well.
Yeah,
That time it was my dog.
Brock's dog.
The blue healer. I wasn't around. It was Dad and Brent. And
Yeah, what happened to you?
been about 2 years ago.
Got his rear end kicked.
Yeah.
I remember.
All the good old fashioned butt kicking. But yeah, 2 years ago, November 9th, went out to tag a calf, fall calvers, and went out to tag him, and he was behind the cow. We were going to just get her away from the creek so we could grab the calf and tag it quick. And I don't know if she felt trapped or what, but she come after me, and I took off running and fell in the corn stalks, and she was on top of me, and she stepped in the middle of my back and broke 3 of my transverse process, the little tabs off your spine. So I was pretty lucky. Felt like she stepped through me, but they're cows, they're creatures, they do things. And I say, thank God for the dog being there, because I don't know how long.
It was a miracle of God that we took the dog, because usually we don't take the dog and we tag calves, because he usually creates a problem. But
Sure.
I took him down. I let the side-by-side run, and he'll stay in it. But once I started yelling, I guess, because I was trying to get the cow off him, and I couldn't, I had no club or nothing. And all of a sudden that dog come flying in, and he got that cow off him. And then he sat down there and laid right next to Brent the whole time till I called Brock, because I needed help to get him. I mean, we was clear down out in the middle of the cornfield down by the creek, and it was getting dark. And he sat right there with Brent till we got him. Well, he even got in the truck, I guess, with you, didn't he, for a little bit?
when I got there, Dad called me. He's like, you got to hurry up, get home as fast as you can. And so I was, I don't know, 90, 95, because Dad's like, it's bad. And so I called Scott on the way home. Scott Hine worked for Hine Brothers, and I said, hey, if anyone calls in a Hine Brothers truck doing 100, it's me, just so you know. So
He probably would have understood.
So we picked it. Me and Dad lifted him into the truck, and off to Onega we went. So
Yeah, you were laid up for quite a bit, weren't you?
9 weeks off work. Had, like I say, fractured, basically broke my back, basically fractured in 3 transverse process. And yeah, I always tell people, you ever watch Tom and Jerry when they throw stuff at each other and it goes halfway through Tom? That's what it felt like.
I think
She
I remember.
stepped through me.
Yeah, I think that was your first text. That you sent a text and you were laid up and they had all sorts of crap, and I'm like, geez, dude. And he's like, man, I think it stepped through me. I don't know how it could have went any farther without going through. But that's just, it's a crazy industry, and people probably think that people deserve it, right? Because you're treating animals badly. We get comments all the time about that, and it's BS is what it is. But I think animals just get defensive, and it's part of nature, and you're not doing anything to justify how they act. But I think at the end of the day, they're still animals, and they can. All it takes is a fraction of a second.
Well, your tamest cows can be the meanest ones when they calf. That first 24 hours, they're pretty protected, and we watch for that, and like we knew this cow had a little bit of fire in her. That's why I waited to tag it, so I had somebody with me, and It just,
They're the ones that will eat grain out of your hands when they're
Yeah.
not a calf by them. But as soon as they calf, it's probably best you stay away till you get the calf by itself in the pen and can lock the mom out, because
yeah, the
you're
next
not
day,
tagging them.
the next day I take grain down to him. She was the first one in to eat grain. And I thought, you're lucky to be alive yet, girl.
I was going to say, probably turned into hamburger, probably. With,
She did that following year
I
after she
figured.
raised her calf.
Yeah.
Them are always the ones that raise good calves, though, the mean ones, for some reason.
Best cows are your pain in the butt. That's always the story.
Yeah, no. What's kept you going all these years? If you started in '80, that's a pretty long run. Why keep doing it?
The love of it. It's just being out here in the country. You plant that seed and watch it grow up to a crop, or you see that baby calf born and grow up to, a steer or a heifer, and it's just, like I said earlier, it's just born in you, I guess. Hard-headedness.
Well, for you two, it's been really neat, and I've known you guys for a long time. But to grow up around it and get to grow up with your dad and do it. But now you've got both of your boys are pretty active. Obviously, yours is a little young yet, but Grant's pretty active. How cool was it for you guys to be able to work with your son and your dad and really kind of just continue the legacy that's being built?
Well, that's what it is, a legacy, and it is neat to work with your kids. And Becky, when she was up here, when Brent talked about feeding bulk calves every morning, they had to do it every morning before they went to school. It was just a ritual. And, but no, it's an honor to be able to work with your kids side by side and grow. I mean, some of this ground, the ground we're sitting on here was my great uncle Alfred and Rose land. The place where Brock lives was my grandpa Becker's land. So, I don't know. It's just, it's in you. I don't know how to describe it. It's just, it's memories you never forget. Good times and bad.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I don't think there's any cooler feeling than watching my son. I'm sure Brent has the same feeling of watching your son get in with your dad, knowing the memories that I've shared with him, and now my grandkid gets to share with him. I don't think there's any cooler thing to watch him get up in the tractor and both of them having a smile from ear to ear. I mean, it warms your heart.
Of course, his dog has to go with us too, Roscoe. He likes to ride in the tractor. If he's out, it's three of us.
Well, and it sounds like you need a good dog around. They've came in handy a few times at least. Brent, what about you?
Yeah, I think for me the biggest thing is just getting to work with your family. I mean, you know that they're always going to pick up because we know something's always going on. And even when we work cattle and stuff, it's not just us boys and them. It's the wives get involved. And mom's making meals for us and stuff. So it comes full circle. It takes a lot of us to make it go because we all work off the farm too. Dad's here 90% of the time. He takes care of most of it, and then we both got full-time jobs, and so when it's a day of working cattle, it's everybody. The wives are involved, and
this
mom's
place
making meals, and
The wives are very involved.
this place wouldn't work without our wives. I mean,
When we need
three great
together.
people. Yeah. Even when they shouldn't be, when mom's hurt or whoever, mom's still there no matter what.
I think that's probably for me like I say, the biggest thing is the family. Like say Grant and Aiden now, are moving in, and it's funny, his little boy's in a stage right now. Everything on the farm's his. So the other day I had a tractor worked on, and he told me when I unloaded, he said, "Thanks for bringing my old tractor back to Uncle Brent. I sure missed it." So like I said, that's the stuff that, you don't get all the time. And it's the time we spend even here in the shop. Last couple summers, I built this shop here about 4 or 5 years ago now. And like I said, it's the time that we get to spend together here, whether it's working on farm equipment or working on toys and stuff. And, we're grilling because we're going to be working. Mom's bringing food down, or the wife's bringing food out. And so it's the time that you get to spend together doing everything, and so.
It's like this big toy sitting behind us.
Yeah.
I did that in the 70s and 80s, and Brent got in there, and Brock both did some racing for a while, and back in the truck pulling again now. Kind of a full circle.
Hey, but again, I think it brings the family together, and it's something,
It's entertainment.
and you see a lot of it too. I think it's, there's not a whole lot to do around here in these particular parts, and so why not hop something up, a truck or a tractor, and go pull it on a Friday or Saturday night and get away from work for a while and back at it the next morning.
Yeah, that's something, that's a very good point you brought up. Not a lot to do around here, I'm old enough to remember Centralia. It had a lot of stuff back in the 70s and late 60s. Clothing stores, the bank, 3 or 4 gas stations, implement dealer, so on, so on. Beer joint, pool hall, grocery stores.
Small
So,
towns are
things have changed.
dying for sure.
Things have changed a lot in my lifetime.
Yeah, it's crazy. We were driving. We shot this morning down by between Holton and Effingham, and Wes was like, "Man, does every little town have an elevator, or a grain silo of some sort?" And I said, "Yeah, back in the day, like every little town had their own co-op, and of course as times change, somebody buys them and they just get more locations. But at least most little towns still have an elevator. Western Kansas, they might not have anything else, but they still have an active elevator, and you think about that, it's like, I don't think they'll ever go away. I mean, you're going to get terminals and stuff, but yeah, it's crazy to see and hear the stories about even Centralia and the pool hall and all these different things that would have had back then. And, hey, we're fortunate to at least have a restaurant and a grocery store, in my opinion, and a good school still,
and a school.
because there's a lot of small towns that don't have any of those.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, but.
Agriculture is the backbone of Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's statewide.
Yep. And what's really cool, and we were talking, you classify yourself as a hobby farmer, and I would argue the opposite, but everybody plays a part, right? Your steers go somewhere and it goes and turns into beef at somebody's table at a restaurant or something like that. It all plays together, whether you got 1 or a million. And so I think the value you bring to the food chain is incredible. And to stick around and do it for 45 years, for the love of doing it, because Lord knows every year is not a great year.
No.
There's good years. Obviously, the market right now is great, but that doesn't mean that it's going to stay like that forever. How do you weather the good and bad years? Like what? I mean, you've been doing it 45, so I'm sure you've seen both highs and lows. But
Well, in the good years, you kind of build that cushion up so you can get through the bad times.
sure,
I mean, we went through it, 10, 15 years ago. Hay was short, got very expensive, cattle prices was low, made it tough. It didn't pencil out, but in a couple of years, the cattle prices come up, feed prices went down, so it kind of, some years you don't make no money, and some years you do. I guess that's part of farming.
that's part of
Our
farming.
income relies on the rest of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, but hey, fortunately, everybody eats, so
Yeah.
at least there's going to be some sort of a market. In the beef market right now, like I said, it's crazy. I was talking to a guy that's got a feedlot. I don't remember what episode, but Keith, super nice guy, and he said, "Man, what COVID did for the beef industry was phenomenal." He goes, and just the influx since then has been awesome. So it's good to see that's kind of been on a gradual incline for the past several years, and hopefully that continues to stay strong because.
Yeah, the demand is good for beef, and the cow numbers are down. I don't know how much they'll rebuild back. I don't know this younger generation if they, cows are kind of the next step to dairying. As soon as you take off, something will happen. You'll get a phone call and you got some out or something, So I don't know how much. I don't know how much the beef numbers will recover. It'll be interesting in a couple of years to see how much it'll come back. And we have less grass today than we had
Sure.
in the last 20 years.
Sure. We'll kind of round this out, kind of talking future and ideas, and obviously the older you get, the more the boys are probably taking over, and the grandkids at some point, I would assume. What's the future look like from all your perspectives?
Well, in a few years, these boys have to decide what they want to do. I'm almost 66 now, so I'm not going to stay out here forever.
It's good you're noticing that, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that stay out there until, they can't walk anymore, and then.
No, I don't want to be out here that long. But right now we just take it day by day. Don't have no big plans. If something would happen to Sherry and I, the boys, we have our trust. The boys and Becky, everybody knows what they'll get. So, I don't know. Like I said, I don't think about it a lot, but I do know what's happening. You get up in the morning, the bones hurt a little bit and stuff now. Arthritis is setting in, but that's the golden years, they tell me. So
yeah. What do you boys think the next decade or two has to look like to keep the Alverson Cattle Co. in business, and what's the future look like to keep us, another 45 years down the road?
I think mainly teamwork. I mean, it's going to take with Dad, when he steps back and stuff, with between me and Brock, we both work a job that requires quite a few extra hours. So it'll just take teamwork, to make it all happen. The wives and the kids, especially Grant, he's 8. Aiden's a little younger, just turned 3. But there's going to be a role for those kids, quick. Because like I say, with us working off the farm, and running that role, it's a lot of evenings. It's a lot of late nights. But I don't know what Brock's opinion is, but these cow-calf pairs, when it's happening, like Dad said, watching that calf grow and watching it be born and everything, it's like anything. It's born in you. Once you do it, you just you don't know any different. You just keep doing it. Some nights you sleep well, some nights you don't. Some nights you come home from work and they're froze to the ground, and like I say, you just pick them up and keep going. So that's, I don't know, I guess that's one thing that, Dad kind of always taught you. If there's work to be done, you just keep doing it. I don't hardly remember him having a sick day, so you just go to work.
Yeah, I don't know the future, but what I do know is what Mom and Dad has always told us or shown us was, just put your nose to the grindstone and grind. You'll figure it out. That's all there is to it. You find a way. There ain't no excuses. Find a way to get it done. And so I don't know the future. I love my job. But who knows in 3 to 5 years what I'll be doing. But for sure, definitely gonna keep farming one way or the other and make it happen. Whether a lot of the times now it's 5 in the morning to 10 at night. It's just part of grinding. You got to do what you got to do to pay bills and
A few more years,
live.
Grant be a little older. Maybe we'll have an idea what he wants to do at that time. And I don't know if I can stay at it till he's out of high school, but, I don't know if he wants to farm or not. If he does, that'd be great. He could start relieving me. And his little boy, of course, he's only 3, but he tells me all the time he's going to be a farmer. But
Maybe what a cool feeling, though.
Yeah, but he's only 3 years old. There's a lot of opportunities out there in this world, and there's an easier way of life.
Oh, sure.
Thinks he's going to be a peanut farmer though, so we got to figure that. We got to figure that one out. Yeah,
I don't know if peanuts grow.
Not sure if we're going to do very well in Kansas with peanut farmers. So
I do, but we're a little far north. Those are the connections I got in that particular world. But man, I want to say thank you, all 3 of you. I know you got a million other things going on, and right now, what'd you say? Your alfalfa last night? Was that what you were doing?
Yeah. I got a little more to bale tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's a busy time of year, so I want to thank you. And I want to thank everybody for watching. I hope you find these valuable, and I hope you find these conversations realistic. And if you see somebody out or meet a farmer or rancher, tell them thanks. Again, the amount of hours and the blood, sweat, and tears that get put into this industry is phenomenal. And keep watching, and we'll see you on the next one.